So thank you everyone for coming today. My name is Brandon Grant. I'm the marketing director here at QuoteWerks. And today we're going to be demonstrating our new Zoho CRM integration. So we just released this in the last release of Build 4. So it's available now if you're on the professional edition or corporate edition of QuoteWerks. And just to give you kind of an overview of our webinar today, for those of you that have not attended one of our webinars in the past, we're going to do a very short PowerPoint presentation, just 3 or 4 slides, that's it. And then we'll actually go through a live demo of the new features of the integration. And then we'll actually take questions at the end as well about the integration, or if you have some specific to QuoteWerks, we can do those also. For those of you that are new to this, if you see in the Go To Meeting box, you'll see a questions box. So if you have questions about anything that we're covering or anything that I discussed today, feel free to post your question in the questions box. I may not answer it right away, but I'll definitely circle back at the end of the webinar and answer as many of these questions as I can. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So the Zoho integration basically has kind of 4 main functionality points, 4 integration points. The biggest one is going to be to be able to create and update those Zoho deals. So that's pretty important for any CRM that we integrate with, is we want to be able to create and update those deals specifically in Zoho, so that all the information that you're creating in QuoteWerks, when you're creating your documents, all that important sales information is flowing directly into Zoho. We can also search and pull your contacts from Zoho directly into QuoteWerks. So if you've already set up your contacts, you'll be able to search directly in QuoteWerks for the Zoho contacts, and it's a live search. There's no syncing or anything like that. We'll be able to pull that information. Additionally, we included full data link functionality. We've been adding a lot of new and more functionality to our data link today, or the last couple of months rather, where we're able to add additional information into the deal that we create, or you can pull additional information from, in this example, Zoho into QuoteWerks. So if you wanted to pull additional field data, we can do that. So we'll make sure we go over that and how to do that today. And then the auto link, it's one of my favorite features with the integration, is the ability to go directly to that opportunity in Zoho. Instead of having to do a search for it, you can just search right in QuoteWerks for it and find that deal immediately and see the document that's linked with it. So we'll make sure to touch on that piece today as well. As always, we have a ton of resources on the website. So if you do have questions or need assistance, definitely feel free to give us a call, send us an email. We'll be happy to help. We have a ton of feature videos on the website that cover specific integrations, as well as our help file is always up to date, where it has the most information, most up-to-date information about the features and functionality we're offering, and then obviously the live and recorded webinars, and our users forum. That's a great place to interact with other QuoteWerks users. So make sure you're checking those out and that you're aware that those are available to you when you're ready. If you're not following us on social media, definitely recommend Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. We post a lot of updates and information, kind of what's going on with QuoteWerks, different events, anything like that. So just make sure that you're following us there, and it's a great way to kind of stay in touch and kind of see what's coming out and what's new with QuoteWerks. So, all right, so that's the easy part. So let's go ahead and switch over to QuoteWerks now. So like I said, we're going to start with the Zoho integration, but what I'm going to actually start with is setting up the integration. So we want to kind of walk through the process of setting up the integration. One of the really nice features about the Zoho integration is a very, very easy integration to set up. It works with all editions of Zoho. So as long as you have QuoteWerks Pro or higher, you'll have access to the Zoho integration. So let's go ahead and step through that first. So to set up the integration, we're going to click on the Contacts menu up at the top window. And then when you see the option for Set up Contact Manager, we're going to click on that option. And this will open up our Contact Manager setup window. And then at the very bottom, these are in alphabetical order. The contact managers on the left-hand side. You'll see the Zoho CRM. When you select that CRM, you'll see there's 2 options, the Zoho Setup and the Data Link Setup. So we're going to go ahead and do the Zoho Setup first. So we'll choose Zoho Setup. And then we have a couple different options here. And actually, let me go ahead and clear my credentials so we can just start from scratch. So the first one is going to be completion of deal to 1. And this basically means when QuoteWerks converts an order or an invoice from a quote, this is what we're going to, basically how we're going to integrate with the deal. So if you want us to update it as won or as closed, when we convert to an order, you'll select this option. If you want us to do it when we convert it to an invoice, you'll select this option. If you do not want QuoteWerks to update that Zoho deal as won or closed, then you'll want to select this option so that we don't do it. I think for most of you are using the order functionality, so you'll want the first option selected. The next option is the ability to use the profit amount versus the sale amount in the deal. And this one's pretty self-explanatory. Basically, instead of by default, the sale amount, so whatever your document amount is, that's what's going to be written over to the deal in Zoho. But if you'd rather it be the profit amount instead, just need to check the checkbox there, and we'll use that amount instead. I'm going to be a traditionalist here and just go ahead and use the default setting. And then the next checkbox below that, update Zoho deal name with the document name. This is a really easy way to kind of keep things in sync and kind of keep things together so they're easy, they match up correctly in Zoho and also in QuoteWerks. Is basically we'll use the Zoho deal name. We will actually convert that to whatever document name you name it in QuoteWerks. So if you name it, in this example, I have a new client setup. So my Zoho deal will be new client setup, and then you can choose customer and things like that. So just an easy way to keep things kind of meshed together and coherent, so it's a lot easier to kind of understand. So, okay, so setting up the integration. Setting up the integration is going to be really, really straightforward. So as the administrator or someone with master rights, when you go into the contact manager setup, you're going to choose request user access to Zoho. So you're going to click on this. This is going to open up manage user access to Zoho, and this is going to show you the user that you're doing this for, and I'll come back to why that's going to be important. So all you need to do is choose request user access to Zoho. So we're going to choose that. And you'll see here, it's going to bring you to the Zoho integration screen. Now, if you are not logged into Zoho, I'm already logged in, so it didn't prompt me to log in. But if you were not already logged in, you want to go ahead and log into Zoho, and then it'll bring you to the screen here, and it'll basically show you what QuoteWerks is going to have access to, and then you simply need to choose accept. And when you click on accept, this will actually give you a confirmation message that the connection was successful, and then you can go back into QuoteWerks. You'll then see you need to do step 2, which is just retrieve the access token. You'll also see until you retrieve the access token, you won't be listed as connected. So we're going to go ahead and choose retrieve access token. We're now connected, and then we can test our connection. And you'll see we are connected, and our user was successful, so our user is logged in. And that's it. So that's all you actually have to do to set up the integration for kind of like your installation of QuoteWerks. Now, each user in your installation will also need to set up their individual user for access to Zoho. And the way that's done is when they log into QuoteWerks, they don't need to go to contacts instead of contact manager because Zoho's already been set as a CRM for the installation, but they need to put their user credentials or connect their user from Zoho with QuoteWerks. So the way they do that is when you log into QuoteWerks, click on Tools, and then My Preferences, and then you'll see there's a Contact Manager tab. And when you click on that Contact Manager tab, since I'm still logged in as the administrator and I just connected, I'm already set to go. But if I had logged in as myself, as I had logged in as Brandon instead, then I would have the option here to actually connect and just do the same steps that I just did previously for this administrator. So this is all that your users need to do. You can do it for them if you want, but you will have to log into Zoho under their credentials. So just keep that in mind if you decide to set that up for them. But it's really just easier if they just go to Tools, My Preferences, click on the Contact Manager tab, and then follow the steps, just those 2 steps that you saw, and then they'll have access to start using the integration. So that's all the users have to do. It's pretty minimal setup on the user side of things for getting connected. Now, we talked about in that short PowerPoint about also having access to the data link. So we're going to walk through that real quick as well. So if we go back to our Setup Contact Manager, we see we have a data link setup button. So if we click on that, this will open up our data link here. Let me just go ahead and remove these old ones I have. So your window will most likely be empty and will look like this. And the data link is where we can push or pull additional field data between QuoteWerks and Zoho. So if we wanted to pull an additional field an additional field information from Zoho into QuoteWerks, or vice versa, we wanted to push information from QuoteWerks into Zoho, we can do that. And the way we do that is by clicking on the gold button here to create a new mapping. And then you're going to select if you want QuoteWerks to push or pull information. So basically, if you want us to update like header item information or header information from the document in QuoteWerks, or opportunity item information, you can do that. We can also just pull directly from Zoho. So let's go ahead and just pull from Zoho. So I'm going to choose retrieve on sold to. And this is essentially the action, is that when I pull a contact into my sold to, it's going to activate the data link. And I'll show you what that means here in just a moment. So on the drop down, we're going to just need to scroll down until you see Zoho and select Zoho for the external system ID. Then just going to check that you're logged into Zoho and make sure everything works there. And then we're going to choose read into QuoteWerks. And then this is where you're going to be able to pull those additional fields from Zoho into QuoteWerks. So for example, maybe you have account numbers for all of your customers and you want that information to be displayed on your quotes that you're sending to your customers. So we can select from Zoho, say, okay, we want to be able to pull that account number field. And then in QuoteWerks, you choose the destination field. So typically this will be like a custom field, or it can be one of the other fields that you see in here. So for ours, we'll say, okay, it's going to be custom number 01. So we're going to pull the account number field from Zoho directly into the custom number 01 field in QuoteWerks. And what triggers it is when we pull a contact directly into QuoteWerks. So when we pull that customer into the sold to ship to, you'll actually see us pull that account number directly into that custom number 01, and simply click OK to save it and then move on. So you can repeat this step as many times as you want, as various options. We're not going to go through all of them because it's a shorter webinar today, but you can actually go through and choose the options for the integration and choose which ones you want to set up and which ones you want to map. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of fast forward to already having a document here. So we've already created our quote in QuoteWerks. Now we want to have the integration with Zoho and kind of activate that integration. So the first part of the integration is on the sold to ship to tab is the contact. So this is where we can actually search and pull contact information from Zoho directly into QuoteWerks. We can do that by clicking on the magnifying glass here under the search for contact. This will bring up our lookup Zoho CRM contact window. And then we can search by the name, phone, account name, account phone, contact first name, contact last name, or the contact phone. So you have quite a few options here. For our example, I'm just going to go ahead and search by account name, and I'm going to search for Aspire. Then you can either hit enter on your keyboard or click on the magnifying glass. And this will actually go out into Zoho and see if you can find an account with contacts associated with it. And when you locate that account, simply click on sold to, ship to, or bill to populate the sold to, ship to, or bill to columns. Or you can click on all, and that'll populate all three at once. Once you have your contact information pulled, you'll see there's actually a couple options for you. One of them is this display contact and contact manager. So after you pull the contact in from Zoho, if you click on this option, this will actually take you to that contact in Zoho. So the nice little shortcut if you haven't created the deal yet to actually view that information in the document. All right, so let's go back to our document items tab here. So like I said, we have our document information in the document already. And then we've created our document, so we're ready to send it to the customer. So we're going to go ahead and click on our save icon. And on the save, this is where the major integration or the main integration with Zoho is going to occur. So because we have our contact already on the document, we can set our document name. So in this case, we'll call it new client setup, and we'll call it our Zoho webinar. Document number will be assigned automatically. Status will set as open. Project number will be assigned automatically as well. And then you'll see the Zoho integration option here. So we have two options. We have the option to create a new link document and create or attach to a deal. Create new link document. This means that this document will actually will create a copy of the QuoteWerks document, the QuoteWerks DTF, the document transport file. We'll attach it to that deal in Zoho. This option here, this is going to enable us to create or attach to an existing deal. So if you had already started a deal in Zoho, and then you came into QuoteWorks and you started creating the quote and you wanted to attach to that existing deal, we can do that, or you can create one from scratch. You'll have both options. The last option on this window here is you'll see the Zoho status. This will show you if you're online or offline. Really, the only time you use offline is if you lost your internet connection for some reason. If you're working in the document, maybe your power goes out or something, and you're running on battery backup, and you just need to quickly save your quote before you lose everything before power shuts down. You can set your status to offline. This will let you save the document in QuoteWorks, but it just won't update Zoho until you come back online. So choose I'm online, and this is where the integration will start. You don't have to do these, but you see here, if you check one or the other, they're basically kind of tied together, where if you're going to create or attach the deal, you're also going to create that linked document. So just keep that in mind when you're using the integration. But this is typically what you're going to want is QuoteWorks to create that Zoho deal and then also attach that linked document. All right, so let's go ahead and hit OK here. And this is going to save our document in QuoteWorks. So you can see here's our document in QuoteWorks. And then we had that checkbox selected that our deal name in Zoho was going to use our document name. So you can see here it is in from QuoteWorks. And then this is our document number from QuoteWorks. And then you'll see there's a few fields that are available for you here. You can set the owner of the deal. By default, it's going to set whoever you're logged in as in Zoho. So whatever your credential, your username is in Zoho, that's how it's set up here. You'll see you have options for next step. We can change the stage. So if we want to say, we'll just say we're at the value proposition stage. If you have a type, you can set that. If you have any notes you want to add, if you want to set the closing date, maybe we'll say we hope to close by next Friday. And then probability, and then lead source and campaign source, you can set that as well. Now at the top, you'll see we have a drop down. So by default, it's going to want to create a new Zoho deal. So it's saying this Zoho deal does not exist. You do have the option, if you click on the drop down menu here, to link to an existing deal. So if you've created a Zoho deal for this customer in the past and you wanted to link to it, you can do that. One thing to keep in mind is that if you link to this Zoho deal, QuoteWorks is actually going to take ownership of that existing deal. And what that means is that once we hit save, or OK in this case, this will actually update the Zoho deal with all the information from our document. Basically, we're going to overwrite whatever's in there. So if you had saved some very important information in there or anything like that, I don't recommend attaching to the existing deal. Instead, you'll want to create a new one because this is going to start from essentially from scratch, start with a blank one. So in our example, I'm going to go ahead and create a new one, but just know that the option exists. So if you created maybe a placeholder in Zoho, and then you're going to have QuoteWorks fill in the blanks later, you could absolutely do that, and that would be a great time to attach to an existing deal. But if you are, if you don't really have any information in Zoho, go ahead and have QuoteWorks create a brand new one for you. You'll also see there's an attachments tab in this Zoho deal window. The attachments tab will allow you to include additional files to the Zoho deal. So maybe there's some other information that you wanted to include, or maybe you're just trying to keep all the documentation in place. Maybe the customer sent you an RFP or an RFQ, so you want to link that to the Zoho deal so that you can see that, make sure that the quote has everything that's supposed to be included on it, or just the scope of work for it. You can include that as well. So whatever you want to attach, this will attach to the as a file attachment in that Zoho deal if you add anything here. And then once we're ready, we can go ahead and click OK. And then that will save our deal in Zoho. Now, to view this deal in Zoho, typically the normal workflow would be you save it in QuoteWorks, it creates that deal in Zoho, and then you would go on to just deliver the document to the customer. Since we're kind of walking through the integration, we're going to go a little differently here. So if we click on our links tab in QuoteWorks, you can see this is the auto link that I was talking about earlier. And I know we had a few people join after the webinar had started. So in case you missed it, talked about one of the features of the integration is kind of this auto link where this will be a shortcut directly to this deal in Zoho. So it's a really nice feature because you don't have to go into Zoho and then do a search and try to find the exact opportunity or the exact deal that QuoteWorks just created for this document. You can instead link directly to it. So if we click on this link, that'll open up that deal for us in Zoho. And you can see it brings us right to our deals and brings us right and all of our information that's been populated from the document in QuoteWorks, and then see like the contacts. And then under the attachments, if you had attached anything, you'll see those files here. And then you'll also see here's the QuoteWorks document. This is actually the DTF or the document transport file. So if you clicked on that while you're in Zoho, it'll actually download it onto your system and allow you to open it. And when you open it, it's a specific QuoteWorks file. It'll actually let you open that document in QuoteWorks. So it's nice. It's a nice kind of like little shortcut back to QuoteWorks from the attachments here. Okay, so everything looks good. We're getting ready to send it out to the customer. So you would do your normal delivery process, click on the deliver window, and we'll just go through here real quick. And you can select the cover page, your layout. If you have any literature documentation that you want to include, anything from the links tab, you can include that as well. And we'll go ahead and we'll upload it to Quote Valet. And we'll just write over the requirements for approval. So we'll upload it to Quote Valet. And then once it goes through there, we can preview, make sure everything looks good. Yep, everything looks good. So we're ready to send this out to our customer. So you would choose send email, and then you click send, and it goes out to your customer. So everything looks great. Goes out to the customer. Customer reviews it and comes back and asks you to make some changes. So when you are making changes to the document, you have a couple options. If you want to use the revision functionality, you can absolutely do that. So let's say the customer comes back and says, hey, we don't need, in phase 2, we actually need, 3 of those first 3 items. So we'll right click, go apply quantity, and we're just changing this just for an example here. So we went ahead and changed that. And then we click on revision to make a copy of that revision. And we're going to go ahead and delete the previous revision because we don't need the first version of it. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And what this is going to do is going to save our document in QuoteWorks. So you can see here it added -01, so we know we're on the first revision of that original document. Now, to update Zoho with that change, all we have to do is resave the document. So you can click on save, and then you'll see here you'll have 2 checkboxes still, but they've changed a little bit. Before they were saying create or link to the create the link document and update or create or link to an existing deal. Now it's just saying update existing deal. So this document's still linked to that specific deal. So to update it with any changes, anytime you need to make adjustments or changes to the document, you simply need to hit save again. And this will actually update that deal. So you'll get the update existing Zoho deal window. You'll see it's already linked. You can actually click on this little icon here, and this will bring you right to that deal just so you can make sure that you do want to link to it or that's the right one. And then if you want to change anything, so we'll go ahead and we'll set our date this time since I had canceled out of it last time, and then go ahead and click, maybe we'll say they're in the proposal price quote stage, and that's good. So we'll go ahead and hit OK. And then if we go back to our deal in Zoho, close out of that old window there, you can see it'll update our information here. And so it has the most up-to-date information about this document. You also see like the stage history. And again, if we had attached anything, that would show up in the attachments tab. Additionally, after you have delivered the document to your customer from QuoteWorks, whether you're using Quote Valet or whether you're emailing out PDFs, QuoteWorks will automatically attach a PDF version of the document under your attachments window here. So if you have users in your company who aren't sales reps, so they don't typically need to be in QuoteWorks, but they go to the Zoho deal and they need to see what was actually sent to the customer, they'll actually be able to view the PDF version of the document under the attachments window of the deal. So it's a nice little feature here where you can actually have that information in QuoteWorks or in Zoho so that you're able to see that information here. Okay, so everything looks great. Sent out to the customer. Customer's happy. Customer's ready to purchase, ready to move forward. So when the customer signs off on the document, you want to come into QuoteWorks. You want to basically mark that the document has been won or it's been closed. The way we do that in QuoteWorks is by converting the quote to an order. If you're using Quote Valet, when the customer signs off on it via Quote Valet, you'll get that notification, and when you open it, it'll prompt you. If you're not using Quote Valet, that's fine. You just need to go to File, Convert to Order. And this is where that setting that we set in the integration setup is going to be important, because this is what's going to trigger basically to update that opportunity or that deal rather in Zoho as won or as closed. So Go and hit OK here. It's going to update our document in QuoteWorks, all our changes. And then it's going to bring up this closed Zoho deal as one window. So again, it's going to just confirm that this is the deal that you're updating. The probability is now set to 100. Closing date is set to today or whenever it was 1, but if you want to change it, you can. And then the stage will be set as close 1 or whatever you have it set up in, however you have it set up in Zoho. Again, you can add any comments if you want to, and then you can click OK. And that'll actually update it in Zoho as 1. And you can even go to view deal in Zoho for the final time and just check that it has been closed 1, and then you can go through your normal process from Zoho. So now that QuoteWorks has updated it in Zoho, you can actually go through that process. Okay. So from start to finish, the integration, it's really easy to set up. It's really easy to use. Those are going to be the primary integration points. If you had set up one of those data links and the information is being copied over to like your custom number 01 or custom text, that information can also be included. So, but the data links are one of those things that you can kind of, you can get as complex or they can be as simple as you want in the document. So, but from start to finish, using the integration, it's going to be very straightforward, very easy. It's going to be very easy to set up. Just kind of the main thing to remember with the integration setup is that you need to set it up for each user in the installation of QuoteWorks so that they're using or essentially paired with their Zoho CRM integration settings. So all that kind of talking to each other and setting up. So that's it basically for the integration. I do see we have quite a few questions, so I want to kind of address those. So for those of you that don't have any questions, thank you for attending. For those of you that do have questions, definitely post them in the questions box and I'll start kind of going through those. If any of you were in late and you missed kind of the beginning, don't worry, we are going to post this to the website so that's live so that you'll have a copy of it. So, but thank you everyone for attending. For those of you that have questions or would just want to listen to the questions, just hang tight and I'm going to go ahead and start going through those.